Hey, welcome to Trick Taking Table. I'm Taylor. Before we get into today's video, I just want to say it's a Kickstarter preview video, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. That said, we've actually covered the game we're covering today in the past, and I absolutely loved it. The game we're covering is 9 Lives by Taiki Shinzawa. And what's funny is, 9 Lives and me, pretty much the same. We used to be Catty. The game this was based on was called Catty. And I wasn't really who I was back in the day when I was Catty. I was rude to my assistant, and it was really a dark time. You bought this. Can't you just play this with a deck of cards?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. I just love when trick-taking games have all this dead air. It's like, what are you, a podcast? You bought this? Can't you just play this with a deck of cards?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, really smart, US Game Systems Inc. Ton of people at home have those weird little knobby hooks that stores have so they can hang up their games on their walls. You bought this? Can't you just play this with a deck of cards?
That's literally playing cards?
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh, these cards are so sharp. What are you, a business card? Oh my gosh. You bought this? Can't you just play this with a deck of cards?
You definitely can't play that with playing cards.
Oh, okay. Phew. I'm sorry. I was so Catty. I hope you know I've changed. I mean, literally, I've changed the sweater that I was wearing in that flashback that I didn't just film. It's a nice sweater, too. It says, did you know that the colors in the rainbow are in a certain order? Red is never next to green in a rainbow. Red is next to orange. Look at the rainbow. Start with the color purple, which is great because in 9 Lives by Taiki Shinzawa, the game we're covering today, purple is the catsuit and it's Trump. So the game has a lot of twists, and some of them will make more sense once you see how to play, but there's spatial bidding and kind of circular bidding, trick winning in a way. There's the idea of the winner of the trick will take one of the other cards that were played into their hand. So players will have variable hand sizes, and a hand can go shorter or longer depending on how players play. And you can see the card backs, so you know how much Trump or what suits people have in their hand when you're bidding. It's wild. And when I did cover it as Catty, I loved it. I love the game. So I guess we'll see if I love this as well. But spoiler alert. Yeah. So let's go to the table and I'll show you how to play. The deck in 9 Lives is made up of 4 suits, numbered 1 through 9. The purple cat suit, as you can see with the white font compared to the black, is always Trump, and at 3 players, you'll remove a suit from the game. Here we have a game of 9 Lives set up for 4 players here. So in the center, you have the rug that denotes the bids that players will be placing, and also the number of tricks they take. You have the score marker, which each player will put one of their tokens over there. Everyone's going to get dealt 9 cards, and then everyone will get 2 tokens, 1 to remember who they are, and 1 to place bids with on the number of tricks they think they're going to take. So starting with a random start player, and then that start player will just move each round, they're going to look at their hand, and also the backs of the hands of every other player at the table, because you can see the card suits on the back of the hand. So you can look out and see, if I play a certain card, will everyone be in suit? How many Trump does everyone have? So that helps the bid for the players. How the rug works is it just keeps track of the number of tricks that you've taken. So say yellow player took a trick, they'll move up on the rug to the 1 space. If they take another trick later on, they'll move to the 2. If you're ever on the 4 spot and take a trick, you'll loop just back around to the bottom here, because as you can see it says 1 or 5. So the start player is random and they start the bidding. Let's say it's the yellow player. So looking at their hand, they see they have a high red and they have a fair amount of Trump. So maybe they think they're going to take 2, maybe 3 tricks. So how it works is, if you bid horizontally, you'll get more points, but it's a little harder, right? Because you have to take either 2 or 6 tricks. So maybe they're a little nervous. They're going to bid 3 or 2. That just means you'll get less points, but you're a little more flexible because now you can get 2 or 6 or 3 or 7 tricks and you'll still get points. So then it'll just go clockwise. So then the green player can bid. And what's interesting is now they can't soft bid here or here because it was blocked by this player unless they come over here and go right there. Coming to the red player, maybe they thought they were going to take 3 or 4 tricks, so they come up here. And now what's interesting is the blue player, they can't do a soft bid because they're blocked out of everywhere. So they can either do a hard bid for 1 or 5 tricks or a hard bid for 4. And they're a little nervous, but maybe they're going to slide in here for the 1 or 5. So now that everybody's bid, the play starts again with the start player. So they'll lead a card. Maybe they were banking on this red to win them a trick, so they'll lead with red. So 9 lives is a must follow game. So over here, this green player has to play their only pink or mouse suit. And finally, the blue player here will play this 1. The winner of the trick is the player who played the highest trump, or if there's no trump, the highest lead suit, which is the 9 over here. They'll move up on the trick track here, so they'll go to 1. And then the winner will take a card from what was played back into their hand. So maybe they do think this 2 is a good choice. So this will go back into the 9 player's hand. These will then get discarded, and then yellow will lead again. Fast forwarding to the end here, as you can see, yellow and green only took 1 trick, whereas red and blue have been taking tricks. So the blue player actually has more cards in their hand, because as the winner, they were putting cards more into their hand compared to these players. So this is actually going to be the last trick, because both yellow and green only have 1 card left in their hand. So the blue player has the lead. Maybe they just play this, and again, yellow plays just the card they have left. Red will follow suit with that purple, and since blue won and they wrap around, they actually hit their bid in an interesting way because they got 5 tricks and got all the way back to the start. Now, since both green and yellow are out of cards, even though blue, which would have drawn back one of the cards because they won, had more cards in hand, the round ends. For scoring, if you bid vertically, or kind of the softer bid, if you're on either of the 2 spots that it touches, you will get 2 points. So both red and green got 2 points in this example. If you hit your horizontal bid, like blue did, you'll get 4 points. And if you ever miss your bid, you will lose points depending on how far you missed it. So let's say yellow had bid up here. They were 2 off, so they'll lose 2 points. You can't go below 0 though, so they wouldn't move. Here, they would have just lost 1 point. So then you take your bids back, these would all move to the bottom, you'd shuffle the cards and re-deal, and you'll play number of hands per player. So at 4, you play 3 more hands, and whoever has the most points wins. So that is 9 lives, and I love this game. It's one of my favorites, maybe my favorite Taiki Shinzawa game, which is saying so much because they're just an amazing designer. I probably should take these off so you take me seriously, but I love this game. Let's start with the first hook, the card backs. So this is so important and so interesting with the bidding, right? So say you have the highest in blue, and you can look out and see, okay, everyone's in suit blue when I play the 9, or maybe later in the trick, someone isn't and they have purple, you can kind of guess that they might trump in. So it's fascinating to have a bidding game where you can see the suits in people's hands and use that as information for the bid. So it's a very informed bid, and it's a very interesting gameplay where you can see halfway through the hand whether you can make one more or not. It's interesting to slowly see cards be played and still have a sense of what's in what people's hands, especially because the winner takes a card back into their hand that you know, because you've seen it, what the rank is. So there's an inherent kind of knowledge of people's hands that is very fascinating for bidding and trick play, and even mid-hand knowing how to pivot is super helpful because you can still see the card backs throughout the whole game. So getting to the spatial bidding, I think that's my favorite part of the game. And even this production, I think this is my favorite part of the production. The fact that it's a rug is just adorable. But so when you have, especially at 4, I think it works also great at 3. But at 4, if someone bids and they're the first to bid and they bid horizontally right on the middle spot, it's crazy because that blocks off so many soft bids already. So let's say someone bids here and the second person bids here. Now no one else can soft bid. And it's so awesome to have such interesting blocking on bidding. A lot of times people will, bid 2 or 3 or just try to bid the same number as everyone and try to equal out, okay, I on average will win 2 or 3 tricks, I'll just always do that. What's great about this game is it blocks players from doing that, and it forces them into bids that might be harder than what they expected. And nothing's more fun in the game where you get forced, because you're the last to bid, into a weird, tough spot. Like, if you're forced to bid here, but you know you probably will win more than one, is to try to loop around. And I guess that's the other hook that I love, is the looping and trying to hit your bid by taking more than 4 tricks is a great feeling, because you're like, can I do it? And it's like a marathon run of looping. And I think having that inform the bidding as well, and then also have those two interact with the card backs, like all the crazy hooks are just informing each other. And I think that's, I'm just gushing here, but I think that's my favorite thing about trick takers that have so many twists and hooks, is that they are interconnected, and it's not just kitchen sink, right? It's not just, and this trick taker does this and this and this, and they feel too disparate. In this one, they are just so connected. And I think there's something to be said that you can't almost talk about any of these one hooks without mentioning the other one. And the last hook, where you pick back a card if you win the trick into your hand, is so fascinating. So one of the options is you can get back in suit. I played where I didn't have any blue. I played one of my pinks, and someone didn't have pink, so they played offsuit blue. And I got back in suit blue and was able to play that blue, because then the person who played the blue was out of the blue that they played, so then they were short suit again. There's so many fascinating back and forths. I think a lot of times in trick takers, if you're out of the trick and you don't think you're going to win, you kind of will just slough a card and just throw a card out there. But in this game, since the winner will possibly take that card that you play, it makes it so even if you're out of the trick, it's still important what you do. And one of the crazy things that I didn't even realize until James pointed out, thank you James, was unlike other trick takers, you have a fascinating decision on sequential plays. And if I can explain that better, let's say this is your hand, right? You have the 1, 2, 3. In other trick takers, if you play any of these, it's the same, right? Because you have all the gaps, so it doesn't matter if you play the 3 or the 2 or the 1, because the 4 is going to beat it or whatever, right? But let's say it's your turn, right? And you play the 3. And then that player who won picks up the 3 and then plays the 3, you're going to lose. Or if you play the 1, they pick up the 1, play the 1, you're going to win, right? Like, this small little nuance is absolutely fascinating. So oftentimes, if I have a kind of a split, I'll play the middle to give myself flexibility to win or lose, depending on if I'm close to my bid or not. And just that small subtleness to the gameplay, where every card you play matters, is absolutely fascinating and so well done. It's super well integrated. I don't want to be hyperbolistic here, but I'm almost never not interested in a trick, because what I play becomes part of someone else's hand, or I win, and then I pull up part of someone else's hand into mine. There's like an always engagement type situation. It's weird to I don't want to gush too much, but I love every part of this game. And tying it all together to bank off of all the different hooks is fascinating. So, like I was saying, I one time got dealt 4 trump, and it was the high trump. And I was just reeling at the idea of that I could lead trump, take someone else's trump, lead the next highest trump, and pretty much have all the trump, and then just win every trick in the game. It was fascinating to do that. And then seeing how other people's bidding worked, then when do I lose lead, right? Because I knew I was going to wrap at least once, and I don't want to wrap too much. And then what do I take? When do I start taking people's 1s and 2s to start losing, right? It's just so wild to bank on certain things happening. It's like Luz or something, where since you can see the card backs, you can programmatically see how some things will work. But then you have the player agency and the player kind of chaos in the mix, where you don't know what they're going to put back in their hand, you don't know what they're going to play, you don't know the ranks on the cards. So you have kind of a perfect balance of, okay, I think that's going to happen, that's going to happen, that's going to happen, and it sometimes works. Then you have that tactical nature of, humans are humans and they're gonna do whatever they want, and so they can throw wrenches in your plans. But again, since you can still see the card backs and you have this flexible bidding and the round kind of 4 to 5 kind of looping situation, you just always have that tactical kind of sidestep to still pull off your bid in this game. I'm just gushing. This game's so great. Now that I've talked about how much I love the gameplay, I think the last two things to cover are production and comparing the whole game to Catty, the previous game. So the production-wise, you can totally just see if you like the art or not. I personally like the art, and I love the fact that the center is this rug that the cats are kind of laying on. I guess I can pull it out here, but the components I have are prototypes, so it's not going to be these cardboard cats. But the idea of these kind of wooden cat pieces laying next to the rugs is just inherently cute to me. I think what they did great about comparing this version to Catty is Catty had 1 through 6 as the loop, and that spatial bidding was kind of just lost. It was less interesting. So it was less looping, it was less blocking. So them making it just 1 to 4 is just fantastic. And I know Taiki made that suggestion for future improvements to the game, so it's nice that this reprint has that, especially with the small number underneath. It's a nice touch, because a lot of times explaining the game being like, oh, you go from 4 back to 1, so this could be a bit of 1 or 5, was a little tough for players, so then it's nice that they have it on the mat. So there's nice just kind of quality of life improvements that I personally like compared to Catty. Again, Catty's impossible to find, so getting 9 lives is ideal because it's available, which is also great. But yeah, the small touches I think have made the game more tight and more interesting. So I love kind of what they've done to improve on Catty. So that's 9 lives, and this hits every checkbox of what I love in trick taking. No bad hands, flexibility, planning and strategy, tactical nature. You have so many hooks, hooks out the wazoo, and I'm like a hook head. I love hooks and twists in my trick taking games, and seeing the unique things that they allow players to do, and the fact that all of those twists are so well integrated with each other, they inform each other. It's such a tight package and such an elegant package, and I know those words get thrown around a lot, and I don't want to be willy-nilly or laissez-faire with my terms of masterpiece and elegant, and I have to say that they are in this game. So this gets the seal, whatever that means. Yeah, so this is easily one of my favorite trick-taking games of all time. I can't gush about this enough. Check it out if you like bidding trick-taking, if you like interesting twists, or even if you just like cats. Anyway, thanks so much for watching.